Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're gonna watch this video from. I remember my humble self, the Ike. If you're coming across my video for the first time, I would like you to share my videos, like, comment, and follow my page if you are not following me. Remember to send stars to support me. Labour Party has submitted their final written address to the court. After Tinubu and AP submitted theirs, Labour Party has countered everything they said in their own. A written address from Labour Party that has 42 pages. Even one video will not contain what they wrote in their written address. I don't want to waste too much time. Let's watch and listen what Labour Party wrote in their written address. I will bring in the videos one after the other until we finish everything. Labour Party has countered everything APC and Tinubu wrote in their own written address, especially concerning the drug case in the name of Tinubu. I remember humble. So as you share this video, as you watch the video, try to share it, like it, comment, and follow my page if you are not following me. We move. P2B is coming. The court must do the right thing. All eyes on the judiciary. Try to share this video so that people will get to see it. We move.
Of Tinubu's lawyers. Their reply is a 42-page document, so it's going to take more than one video for me to succinctly summarize that reply for you. But in this video, I'll be showing you how Obi's lawyers totally destroyed the argument that was made by Tinubu's lawyers to defend Tinubu's drug case. Now, let's get to it. One of the biggest issues raised against Tinubu in Obi's petition is the case of forfeiture of $460,000 drug money that was found in Tinubu's account while he was in the USA. And the United States District Court, Northern District, Illinois, Eastern Division, ordered Tinubu to forfeit the money, and he forfeited the money. Now, according to the Nigerian Constitution, precisely section 137, subsection 1D, a person shall not be qualified for election into the office of the president if he is under a sentence of imprisonment or fine for any offense or fraud, or for any other offense imposed on him by any court or tribunal. Now, if you heard me well, the Constitution said if the person is under a sentence of imprisonment or fine, he is not qualified to be elected into the office of the president. So when Obi and his legal team saw imprisonment or fine, they quickly included it in their petition that Tinubu is not qualified to contest because he once forfeited $460,000 back in the US. And when the hearing began, Obi's legal team tendered the document of the $460,000 forfeiture by Tinubu as evidence, and the tribunal accepted it. Now, Tinubu's lawyer looked up, they looked down. They looked left, they looked right. How do we go about this matter? The document of the forfeiture has been submitted to the tribunal. Even the only witness that Tinubu presented in court ended up confirming that there was a forfeiture. That senator. What are we going to do? Tinubu's lawyers asked. They now decided to come up with a very silly argument. They said, it was a forfeiture, that it was not a fine, that it was not as if he paid a fine for an offense, that it was a forfeiture, not a fine, that he willingly gave up the money. He was not fined, that it was a civil forfeiture, not a criminal forfeiture or a fine. So as I stand now, I'll just go to court and go and forfeit my money. Nothing happened, no allegation against me. I'll just go to court and forfeit my money. Is that possible? Then Obi's lawyers now destroyed that silly argument in their final address. Look at how they did it. They wrote, "Respectfully, my noble lords, the cardinal question is whether a civil forfeiture under the US law can be equated to a fine under the Nigerian law. According to settled case law in the United States and according to legal literature, the answer is yes. A forfeiture is the same as a fine." Then they used a well-known US case as an example. In the well-known case of Austin versus the United States in 1993, the US Supreme Court unanimously held that civil forfeiture ordered in an in rem civil action is a fine and is a punishment, whether criminal conviction is involved or not. The court relied on several authorities and held, among other things, that forfeit is the word that Congress used for fine. Now, let me remind you again that the only argument that Tinubu's lawyers have been able to come up with in this drug case matter is that forfeiture is different from fine. Because if it is established that forfeiture and fine are the same, then section 137 subsection 1D disqualifies Tinubu from being able to contest for the office of the president. So that is their argument. But you can equally see how far Obi's lawyers have gone to defeat that argument. Obi's lawyers have been able to prove that forfeiture is the same as fine. They cited a popular case in the US, the case between Austin and the US, where the US Supreme Court called forfeiture a crime. They pointed out that forfeiture is the word that the US Congress uses for the word fine. Then Obi's lawyers proceeded to use the legal literature to prove that forfeiture and fine are the same thing. They said dictionaries of the time confirmed that fine was understood to include forfeiture and vice versa. Look at some of the examples they gave. The I.T. Sheridan, a general dictionary of English language, 1780, unpaginated, gave 5 definitions of fine. Number 1, he said a fine is a most. Number 2, he said a fine is a pecuniary punishment. Number 3, he said a fine is a penalty. Then number 4, he said a fine is a forfeiture. He called fine forfeiture. Then the Sopra dictionary gave definitions of forfeiture. Number 1, he said a forfeiture is the act of forfeiting. Number 2, he said a forfeiture is a most. Then number 3, he said a forfeiture is a fine. So the Sopra dictionary called forfeiture a fine, and the I.T. Sheridan dictionary called a fine a forfeiture. Vice versa. Then the J. Casey, a new dictionary, 1702, defined forfeits as fine or penalty. Have you now seen that these two words, according to renowned dictionaries, can be used interchangeably? Have you now seen that the argument put forth by Tinubu's lawyers does not hold water? So, Tinubu forfeiting $460,000, which was proceeds of drug, means he paid a fine of $460,000 to that district court. And according to section 137, subsection 1D of the 1999 Constitution, that invalidates him. That means he was not qualified to contest in the first place. Now, while I admit that these issues are matters of the law and the final verdict rests with the court, some of them are so blatant, and we believe that if the judiciary go use their church mind, this can only go one way. And in other news, the crisis in the APC continues to deepen. Now there is a Yoruba version of the party and a Hausa Fulani version of the party. Remember, it was a CPC, a Hausa Fulani party, and the ACN, the Yoruba party, that joined together to form the APC. Now it be like say the glue or the gum where they take join them, it don't they give way. Because every day now quarrel. Me I like and like that. May them continue to the quarrel so that judiciary go get the opportunity and the freedom to fit do what they're supposed to. When the tribunal hit them with their verdict, the shock go make them pafuka, they no go fit recover. But until then,